Welcome back to Attitude, Effort, Results, presented by Teamwork Online and the Clubhouse. Today's a special one. If you guys are watching online or YouTube, we have a bunch of listeners on YouTube. If you guys are watching there, you can see today we're dressed a little differently. Today we're in a suit. The reason we're in a suit today is because today's all about sales. For the second time, the reason why we're doing an all sales episode for the second time on the Attitude, Effort, Results podcast is because the NCSSC is coming up soon. A couple weeks, actually. And we're excited. The NCSSC is a National Collegiate Sports Sales Championship held in Atlanta. We are a proud partner of the competition itself. Shout out Lane Wakefield for helping us make that happen. This is part of what they're doing, is helping young individuals build their sales knowledge and drive their careers forward. The competition that is held in Atlanta at the Atlanta Hawks Arena is one of the best, if not the best, in the entire country for sports sales specifically. The reason why is because people actually take skills and talent over a period of time and transfer it to an in-person selling competition. You want to talk about pressure, you want to talk about fun, you want to talk about competitive environment, this has it. And today we're going to walk through a couple steps. We're going to build on the first episode we did and help prepare the young individuals, the college kids that are going into this championship. So if you're a part of NCSSC, this is 100% for you today. If you're not going in NCSSC, I have a couple different points for you before you turn the episode off. I want to give one point that you probably never heard before unless you listen to the first episode that we did on sales. And I think it's worth repeating because I think it's important, is there are only two skills in this entire world. Two skills in the world. One is sales, one is service. Every job in America boils down to either a sales job or a service job. Some of you are like, no way, there's doctors in the world. Well, they're servicing people. No way, there's entrepreneurs in the world. Well, they're selling a product. Because if you are not selling a product, you are servicing either a product or a person in some capacity. So before you start hating on sales, like I did when I was younger, understand that there are two career paths in this world. They are either sales and service. So if you want to go into sales, I highly recommend that you listen to what we're talking to today. If you don't want to, I highly recommend that you listen to today and share this with others who do want to go into sales, or at least just learn the sales perspective, because at some capacity you're probably going to cross paths with the sales world at some point. We usually do what is Attitude, Effort, Results doing now. Because this is a podcast dedicated to the NCSSC, we're going to do it very quick. Right now we're actually looking to book our first, we have booked our first ever professional sales consultant role with a company, and it's not even in sports. So if you guys are like, man, this guy, all he does is talk about sports, I'm not in sports, I don't want to listen. Well, guess what? We just booked a sales training session, a coaching session with a company who sells parts to a mining world. The mining world. You're like, how did you get mining world? Well, guess what? This isn't just about sports. This is about coaching people. This isn't actually just about sales either. It's about coaching people and helping people become the best version of themselves, helping people grow in their skills, their knowledge, personally and professionally. A company outside of the sports world, a company that sells mining materials. You know how far apart mining and sports are in the world? Pretty far. But guess what? We're not just here for sports. We're here to help people. And that is what we do here at Attitude, Effort, Results. Let's jump into this very sales-heavy episode because sales skills are needed. Some of the biggest sales takeaways that we found in our world and that others have told us is time is your most valuable asset. You have to improve your communication skills, right? Sales is a tool for utilizing your skills in an efficient way. How can you schedule? How can you manage your schedule? How can you create relationships? And how have those relationships helped you develop your skills? Are you having attention to detail, right? What about your sales numbers? What about your process, right? All of these are very important. And so before I start today's episode, because we have a lot of sales to get into today, I'm going to start out with telling you the best thing about sales. And this is 100% going to hook you for the rest of the episode. You will not turn it off after this because you'll be so excited about sales. Are you ready? You fail 90% of the time. Probably 97% of the time, actually. All right, who's ready to jump into sales with me? You fail 97% of the time. That probably fires you up, doesn't it? To get into the sales industry? All right, maybe that's not the best part about sales, but it is true. And if you know that going into sales, you're going to be light years ahead mentally than everyone else. It's a game of numbers. If you take more at-bats, you simply get more hits. There simply is a better chance of you selling more. So knowing that early on sets you up for success. Last time, in episode 10 of season 2, we covered prospecting, the sales intro, how to set a very firm agenda, the call and meeting flow, the question path in that episode. Today, we are going to build on top of that. So if you have not listened to episode 10 in season 2, it's called Let's Learn Sales. So you should be able to find it pretty simply by scrolling down the episode list. If you haven't listened to that, go listen to that and listen to this right after, because this is an extension of that episode. Again, specifically for everybody in the NCSSC, but also it applies to you in your world. You can probably find something that applies to you. So, you guys want the keys to the kingdom. Everybody's like, oh, give me the keys, give me the keys, give me the keys. I got the keys, right? Come on. Who knows that song? I think I have ADHD, which is super normal in my head. You want the keys to the kingdom because you're lazy. Well, guess what? The NCSSC actually gives you the keys to the kingdom. I'm going to take things directly from the rubric. So if you're going into that competition, this is literally what they're judging you on today. If you're not going into that competition, this is exactly how sales is written. This is how 153 sports teams in the country go and judge individuals and find talent in the sports industry. You guys ready? Because I'm a full sales CS deep, and I am ready to absolutely rock today. All right. Actively listening. So, again, you haven't listened to episode 10. We're rolling. Last thing we talked about is a question path. So what happens after the question path? You want to get to a certain response. Active listening. You might have specific questions laid out in that question path, right? Because you might want to get from point A to point B. You might want to get from opening a conversation to selling a product. And guess what? That is phenomenal to have those questions laid out. That is actually exactly what you should do, and if everything in life was perfect, that's how it would go. We literally taught you last time what the question path is. However, what if you're calling an individual and they have an answer that doesn't really go down the question path, or you are like, I have no idea where to go from here, right? The opportunity to actively listen can take your path differently. You know exactly where you want to go, but what if it gets thrown off the path? It's almost like if you're in school, you know exactly what you want to do. I want to go become a doctor. Well, guess what? What if you flunk out of school? Can you take a different path? What if in a sales conversation an answer is thrown at you that is not exactly what you thought it was going to be? Can you get back on the path? Can you navigate that conversation back to where the prospect wants to go, back to where you want to go? What if something better comes up? What if you're talking about lower level season tickets? Again, in this scenario, let's just go with an NBA team to keep it specific. That's what I do. It's easy to talk from that. We'll just keep it straight line. The whole time we're doing this, we're going to talk from an NBA team's perspective. Let's say you're talking about lower level tickets, and all of a sudden this guy or girl that you're talking to is like, hey, I would love lower level tickets for my family, but my business really keeps me from spending time with my family. Most people, if you're talking lower level tickets and that's where you want to go, that's the goal, that's the thing you want to sell, most people are like, lower level tickets, lower level tickets, lower level tickets. Well, he just said his business takes a lot of time out of his day. So if you're actively listening, wouldn't you want to take the path of business as well? wouldn't you want to dive deeper into what he does for work? If it's taking up a lot of his time, you can infer that he either is really bad at what he does and he just works really long hours and being really bad at what he does. Or you can infer that he might be an owner. He might be really good at what he does. He might be the CEO. She might run the company. She might be the top salesperson. She might be going on client events all the time. So if we can actively listen, why would we not take the conversation that way? How do we do this? You guys sitting right there, you're like, okay, cool, actively listening. It's a great buzzword. I don't know what that means. It means be genuinely curious. And everybody out there's like, wow, that's just great, Tanner. You're going to pump up this episode, and the only thing you want me to do is be genuinely curious? Yes. That is the greatest skill that a sales individual can have. And guess what? As soon as you learn to become genuinely curious in your role, in your sales role, in your process, your life becomes better because you are genuinely curious with other people in life. I come into most situations in life now, and Hunter and I are having a conversation. We actually get to a point where, like, I didn't really say anything about myself except for when he asked. And he didn't say anything about himself except for when I asked. And the only reason is because we're genuinely curious about what's going on in that person's life. And when I start the conversation, I might actually be talking about what he did Friday night, but it might actually go into how he was able to worship and serve on Sunday morning. Was the goal of the conversation to talk about Sunday morning? Maybe, maybe not. But because I actively listened and the conversation went that way, now I'm able to learn more about that individual. It's a mindset. It's a habit that needs to be formed. And guess what? You can do this in your everyday life as well. Callie, in my conversation, if you haven't listened to this before, Callie's my beautiful, beautiful wife who is way smarter than I am, and that's so cool to be in a relationship with somebody who's smarter than you, because my goal in life is actually to be the dumbest person at the table. Not to be uneducated, that's not what I said, but if I can get in a room with people that are way smarter than me, I'm winning in life. And guess what? Every time I step into my house, I'm the second smartest person, which is awesome. All right, I got a little off track there. I get pretty passionate talking about my wife. Our conversations are more intelligent and deep than most in this world because we are genuinely curious about the other person. We all have that person in life, and if you don't, you probably are this person, so I cautiously say this. We all have that person in life who asks us a question just so they can tell us about themselves, right? I'll give you a second to think about that person. Again, if you cannot think about somebody, thinking inwardly. It's probably you. Walks in the door and says, hey man, how was your day? And you're like, oh, my day was, oh, great. Well, here's what I had to do today. And I did this and this and this. Or you ask them a question. You're like, hey man, how was Friday night? And you're like, oh, Friday night was good. We did this. Awesome. Like my Friday night was doing this and this and this. Hey man, how's work? Well, work is decent. But like, oh, my work is doing this and this. Like those people stink. And if you're one of those people, stop, because nobody in life enjoys that. It actually is an energy drainer. I call them vacuums. I don't hang out with vacuums. We hang out with batteries. You know what batteries do? Ask more questions to that person. Make them feel wanted. Make them feel like they're a part of the conversation, like they're the center of the conversation. And honestly, it's pretty annoying sometimes with Callie and I because we ask each other so many questions. I'm just like, dude, I'm actually asking you. I'm like, hey, Cal, how was your day? And she's like, well, fine, but like, how was your day? And I'm like, well, it was good, but like, tell me about your day. And she's like, no, well, you tell me about your day. I'm like, okay, this is, sometimes it gets a little annoying. But an actual step is if you ask, let's go back to the sports sales thing, right? And specifically the NCSSC here. Let's say you're talking to a prospect, you're talking about NBA seating, and you call this guy or girl and say, hey, where have you sat in the past? And they say, I came with my family in the lower level, and then a client brought me to the suite last month. A logical question most people will ask. Well, I'll actually ask you, what's a logical question you ask? You're in the sales process, and you say, hey, where have you sat last, right? You're learning what they like. Oh, I came with my family, sat in the lower level, and a client brought me to the suite last month. There's pretty much two questions, right? Either how was the experience in the lower level with your family, or who's your client, or why'd you come out with a client, like tell me about the suite, right? Those are probably your two paths. You can either go the lower level or the suite route. Those are the information that he gave you. But here's how you separate yourself. You mirror what they said first. Hey, it seems like you've had various seating experiences in our arena before. Tell me about both of those experiences. Where the first scenario, most people are going to take either route A or B. And also, neither of those two routes are wrong, by the way. They will take either route A or route B. How you actively listen and become elite at what you do is you mirror first. Literally just tell them what they told you. People are going to think you're geniuses. Like, I'm like cracking the Morse code right now. Like, people think you are absolute geniuses and you're just repeating back what they said. It sounds like you've been in our arena before in multiple locations and have experienced multiple different seating options. Tell me about those experiences. Because now, one, it allows them to know that you're listening to them and you're understanding them, but also they get to choose that path that they want to walk down. Maybe they want to walk down the lower level path. Maybe they want to walk down the suite path. Here's another one. Here's an example. All right, actively listen to this right now and think of a question that you would ask in this scenario. In this scenario, I'm the buyer, you're the seller. You're selling NBA season tickets to me. And you ask me, hey Tanner, ideally, how often would you and your family like to come to games? It's a great question. And I answer, honestly, with my son Timmy's soccer practice and my daughter Stacy's basketball practice, my wife's job, and how often I travel for work, we'd probably only be able to make it to 1 or 2 games a month. Okay, I'm going to say it again. Actively listen. Hey, Tanner, how often do you and your family come to games? Ideally, how often would you like to come to games? And I answer with, hey, with my son Timmy's soccer practice, my daughter Stacy's basketball practice, my wife's job, and how often I travel for work, we'd probably only be able to make it to 1 or 2 games a month. What's your next question? How do you show that you're actively listening? Most people just got the answer they asked for, right? You asked a question, they answered it 1 or 2 games a month. But if you're actively listening, the answer looks kind of like this. Hey, Tanner, it sounds to me that you and your wife prioritize your kids' sporting events and both of your careers. And guess what? I actually admire that. It also seems like your family enjoys spending time together surrounding sports. Is that correct? What did I just do? I just actively listened to what they told me. I'm not some sort of genius reading minds over here. I'm literally just saying back what they just told me. Now, by me saying, hey, is that correct? They say yes, because they literally just told me that, so it is correct. Now I get to show them that I'm actively listening, and now I get to ask my next question, right? That way it does 2 different things. It's building a case for the recommendation that we're about to make for this person, and it's not an interview anymore. Now it's a conversation. Nobody likes to go to a car dealership and say, what do you want? What do you want? Black, interior, in this. You're like, dude, you're not even listening to me. Great example that just came to my mind. Callie's boss wants to get a new car. Goes to the dealership, says, hey, I want something with a V8 in it. I want black interior, I want this. Gives them all this stuff. The car dealer just freaking just grilling this guy. The only thing that the boss purchasing the car actually wanted was a V8. The car salesman did not actively listen. He got him a vehicle that had everything that he asked for except a V8. If he would have actively listened to why he wanted a V8, the vehicles he's had in the past, and the most important thing to him, which was having a V8 engine, this dealership would have gotten a car. The car salesman actually sold him a vehicle that had a V6 in it. He gets out on the highway, cranks it all the way up, doesn't have the kick he wants because I don't know cars, but it's 2 V's short of what he wanted. That's how much I know about cars, all right? He wanted a V8, he's got a V6, he's 2 V's short of what he wanted. So he gets on the highway, and he's got no power. He goes back to the car dealership and says, dude, what the heck are you thinking? I asked for one thing. And the guy's like, no, you didn't ask for one thing. You asked for 14 different things, and I got you 13 out of 14. That's pretty good, right? No, you're not actively listening. You're just listening to what you want. And it's not about what you want. It's about what they want. And so the guy said, sorry. Like, we'll get your old car back and we'll find another car. My doctor's, the Callie's doctor, says, all right, I'll buy it. I'll take the car back. Gets the car back. See you later. I'm going to a different dealership. No. We got this car and this car and this. Now it doesn't matter. You just broke trust because you couldn't actively listen. This car salesman got 13 out of 14 correct. That's pretty good most of the time. But he was not actively listening to the one thing that actually mattered to him. And he didn't get the sale. And unfortunately for this car salesman, this doctor was going to buy a nice car. So he missed out on a little bit of money because he stunk at what he does. So don't be that person. The second thing it does is making a recommendation, which we're talking about right now. When you actively listen, you actually know what they want and why they want it. So now when you make a recommendation, that recommendation is so strong based on what they want, not on what you want. The recommendation is so strong based on what they want. Couple pieces for you. One, pitch high. Because I may go into, let's stick with the basketball. I may go into an NBA basketball team and say, hey, I want lower level tickets. I want it for about $1,000. But I might not even know that there's a luxury product available. Right? I was talking to my buddy the other day who works for a sports team. I'm going to keep all names out of it because I respect privacy. Talking to a sports team. The director of this team goes into a business, pitches this guy, couple seats worth, let's make up a number, worth $50,000. The company says, yes, I'd love them. I'd love to spend $50,000. This guy or girl, it might be, goes into the business after and says, hey, just saw that you bought these $50,000 seats. Like, tell me what you think. And my guy or girl that I know starts actively listening to the business owner. And all of a sudden he's like, dude, you only got 4 seats? You need at least 8 or 12. And the guy's like, yeah, I would love 8 or 12. It's like, well, why didn't my director pitch you something bigger? He's like, I didn't even know anything existed. Sold him a product that was 4 or 5 times more expensive simply because he actively listened, and this business owner wanted something that's bigger but didn't even know it existed because the first guy didn't even actively listen. He spent let's make up numbers, like $300,000 on this product just because the guy actively listened. And the first guy that walked in didn't even know that he had that much money. So the first thing is, in making a recommendation, always pitch high. However, you don't want to pitch so high that you're way out of the ballpark and you lose your credibility, right? Hunter and I are really good at what we do. Him and I could sit across from the table right now. Neither of us would sell each other an annual suite. Neither of us, right now. We could be the greatest at what we do right now. He will never sell me a $350,000 annual suite. I will never sell him a $350,000 annual suite on a 5-year deal, regardless of how we are. So if we walked in right now and I said, hey, Hunter, I'd really like to buy lower level tickets. And he says, that's great. What's your budget? Blah, blah, blah. We go through it. And I say, hey, I'm looking like $1,000, $1,500. And he's like, oh, well, Tanner's told me to pitch high. So, all right, I think you should buy the $350,000 suite. I'd be like, dude, find me somebody else. I don't want to work with you anymore because you weren't listening. So actively listening gives you credibility and make a recommendation. So when you actually go to make a recommendation, let's make the right one. Because being a good person, having integrity, and giving the client what they want for the reason they want it will give you success down the road. So, 2 things in this piece that are very important. 1, pitch high because you don't know what you don't know. Because let's say, for example, you can never sell a full season package if you never pitch a full season package. And the second is, don't throw out a package that is so high above where they are at that they don't feel heard, right? When you go and make a recommendation, it has to have weight behind it because of how you actively listen to their needs. Moving forward, when you make a recommendation, you should include the top 3 reasons why they should sit in that location or why they should buy that product based off of what they said, not based off of what you said. So it should look something like this. I'm going to use Hunter for an example because he's sitting right here, and I enjoy using names. It should sound something like this. Hey, Hunter, based off of what you told me of wanting to attend games with your family, ideally making it to 1 or 2 games this year, and wanting to be within the $1,000 to $3,000 range, my best recommendation is lower level seats on a half season because you'll get to go to 1 to 3 games a month. You'll get to have access to spend time with your family, and it's within the budget that you told me. The crazy part is, you're not even doing any work anymore. People are so scared to make the recommendation. People are so scared to pitch a product. People are so scared to make a sale ask, but you're not actually doing it. You did the work on the front end. You're just telling them what they want based off of what they said. My recommendation is this, because you told me that that's important. And guess what? You're the expert. So you're recommending this product because you're the expert on products, and you actively listen to what they're wanting. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. If not, DM me. We can have a deeper conversation about it. 2 more things for you. Overcoming objections and asking for the sale is where we're going. Overcoming objections. You're going to hear it a lot, but if you're in sales, feel, felt, found is very important. Triple F. It's like the big baller brand. Triple B's, but this is triple F. F, it's not squared. F to the 3rd power. Look at that. I actually got some math left in me. Good thing I went all the way up to like algebra 2 as a student. Feel, felt, found. If you've never heard it before, it sounds something like this. Hey, Tanner, I can appreciate how you feel. Others have felt the same way. What they have found is XYZ. Hey, Tanner, I can appreciate how you feel about the price being too high for this location. I have had other clients, members, friends, family, whatever, who have felt the same way about this being an expensive investment for you. They have found, or together we have found, that breaking the payments up monthly allows them to spread out their full investment, and they have found that that's important to them. Right? This allows you to provide a testimonial from another client or member or family or friend, so it's not just you. Right? People love buying, but they hate to be sold. And the stigma behind sales, unfortunately, is not going anywhere. I wish that I could change the entire stigma around sales, and that's one of my goals in this industry. However, I don't have to think like me. I have to think like the buyer. And the buyer probably has been screwed over by a saleswoman or man before because a lot of people are slimy and sleazy. So again, I would love to change the narrative, but I have to think like them. So if I say, hey, I can appreciate how you feel. Big misunderstanding. Sometimes people say, I can understand how you feel. You can't understand how they feel. Like, never use the word understand, because you actually do not understand. If I went up to Hunter and be like, hey, Hunter, I understand that you can't spend $1,000 right now with me. Oh, do you? Have you looked at my bank statements recently? Do you know what my kid's going through? Do you know the hospital bills we just paid? You know what my mortgage looks like? No, I have no idea. So I sound incompetent and not listening to him if I say I understand. I know it's a very small tweak. I get that. It took me like a year and a half to learn, and you're learning it right now in a 5-minute podcast segment. You can send me the training check later. You can just mail it to me. You're welcome. It took me a year and a half. I'm teaching you in 5 minutes. I can appreciate, because the word appreciate doesn't agree or disagree with them. And also is not telling me that I understand you, because I don't understand the situation you're in. Sometimes I actually will never understand the situation you're in. So feel, felt, found. Overcoming objections. Again, we are not battling objections. Everyone's like, battle objections, get the sale, battle objections. No, that sucks. Because you're not battling anything. You're working with the person to find the best solution for their problem. You are widening the gap and now filling the gap with a product or service that you have. This is not battling objections to get a sale. This is overcoming objections together as a team to find a product that fits the needs that they need, to fit a want so they can provide more time with their family, right? I can appreciate how you feel. I'm going to run through it again. Hey, I can appreciate how you feel. Others have felt the same way. Together we have found that XYZ works best. And again, you're the expert, so you get to fill in the gaps, right? It allows you to work with the client, not against them. It's almost like an argument with your partner or spouse. Like, you might attack the objection as a we problem, not a you versus me problem. This is why actively listening is important. For me, Callie and I do this ever since we started dating. Every problem, argument, discussion, whatever we have, it is me and Callie versus the problem. That is the exact same thing in sales. It is you and the client versus whatever the want or need is that they have. It is not you versus the client to see who can get the most money out of it, to see if you can make sales, see if you can get commission. That stinks. And if that's your sales reason, get out of sales. You're the reason we hate you. It is you and the client finding a problem and offering a solution to work together, so that's not a problem for their business, for their family anymore. Here's a couple steps to overcome or handle the objection. Again, not to battle it, but to overcome or handle it. Once again, for the 45th time in this episode, actively listen. Acknowledge their objection. Do not breeze past it, because the elephant will never leave the room if you don't address it. Then ask questions to better understand the issue. Again, you might not ever fully understand it, but if you can ask questions to understand what they're going through, you might provide a solution. Hey, Hunter, I know you said that... Hey, Hunter, I know you said you're broke in this $1,000 membership. No, don't ever say that. I'm kidding. Sorry. I like to have a little bit of fun. Hey, I know that you said this $1,000 membership was expensive. And guess what? Price is important. Me acknowledging the fact that I hear them, right? Hey, price is important. I'm curious. Is it the full price of $1,000? Or is it the per event basis over the next year and a half? Over the next 6 months, whatever it is? Well, Tanner, I'm just like, $1,000 up front? Like, I don't think I can just give you $1,000 right now. Hey, Hunter, I can appreciate that. Others have felt the exact same way. What they found is spreading payments over 10 months, so it's actually only $100 a month. They found successful, and they found that that makes sense for their finances. What are your thoughts on spreading payments out over 10 months? You might, because you found what their actual objection is, you might be like, oh, I didn't even know you could spread payments out. That's pretty easy. I just paid my car off, and I just don't have $1,000 in the bank right now. But I have 100, and I'll probably have 100 next month, because guess what? I'm going to work this month. Right? So understanding the issue at its root is important. The next is reframing that objection positively and then providing a tailored solution to their needs, right? Looking more to understand what that objection is, reframing that as a positive, and now tailoring the solution to fill that gap. You widen the gap, you heard the objection, now present the product, because again, you're the expert, to fill their needs. Additionally, use other stories, use testimonials. Don't just let it come from you. Why should Hunter just trust me? I had a guy the other day that's like, hey, I'm looking to do this long-term deal. I don't know if it's worth it. Instead of me saying, hey, I, Tanner Natsky, at 26 years old, do think it's important. I said, dude, there's X amount of companies in our organization that have done $1 million deals. They think it's important. Now I just put my credibility on 24 other companies. You think 24 other companies, and again, that's not the real number, that's me being just throwing out a random number. You think 24 companies that work with my organization are idiots and have signed 7-year deals on $1 million a year a deal? Probably not. So use other examples and provide examples of others overcoming the same objection. Hey, we had a company that worked with us the other day. They actually had the exact same issues as you. If I'm in your shoes, I actually would probably ask the same questions. Again, understanding, allowing them to make sure that I'm listening and understand. What they told me is starting smaller. Like, hey, instead of spending $1 million a year with us, like, let's just start with $50,000 and build from there. That's actually what they did. What are your thoughts on doing the same thing? Right? Understanding them is important. The last thing is asking for the sale. Listen, closed mouths never get fed. It's plain and simple, closed mouths, it will never, ever get fed. If you never ask for a sale, you will never make a sale. If you never ask for additional information or a referral, you will never get a referral. Plain and simple, closed mouths never get fed. As soon as you ask for the sale, I'm reading my notes right now, and I have a cuss word in there, and I'm not going to say it here, but I want you to know how important and how passionate I am about this point in particular. When you're asking for the sale, you go through everything that we did in episode 10. You come through, you ask all the questions, you actively listen, you make a recommendation, you handle the objection, you overcome the objection that they have, and now you say, hey, again, based on my recommendation, this is what I think it is. And they're like, okay, cool, what's the price? As soon as they ask for the sale, or as soon as you ask for the sale, hey, based on my recommendation, this is what I think you should do. It's going to be $10,000. Shut up. As soon as you ask for the sale, shut up. Stop talking. Go silent. The amount of time that people talk them out of themselves, out of sales, is crazy. Give the other person time to think. If I go up to Hunter and say, Hunter, based on what you told me, this is this and this. One, I have confidence because I just pitched them the best product that they need. They told me their needs. I asked good questions. They told me what they wanted. I'm giving them a product that's going to help them exactly what they want. So I have a ton of confidence because of the process I went through, a ton of confidence that this is the right product for them. Hey, Hunter, it's $10,000. Give them time to think about it. Let them process that. To me, $10,000 is a lot of money. To a business owner of a $100 million company, that might be like me buying a Big Mac, which I haven't done in like years, so maybe that was a bad example. Let them process it. Regardless of what the dollar amount is, let them process it because you could talk yourself out of it. That's why. Hey, price is $10,000 and it comes with this and this and this. But if we don't have that, then you can buy this for $5,000. And if you really don't like the $5,000 product, now we can go $1,000. And then, if we don't like the $1,000, I could really just throw in like courtside warm-ups for you guys. And after that, like I could give you guys a t-shirt and we could have the gorilla come by. Like, dude, we could do a bunch of stuff for you for $1,000. You're just going to sell them a $10,000 product, and without you even giving yourself a chance, you're down to $1,000, and now you have 10 times the amount of work to do because you couldn't shut up. Make a strong recommendation based on what they tell you. Overcome the objection by understanding what their actual product is. Ask for the sale. Shut up. And then just run their card. And assume the sale. Assuming the sale is huge. Hey, Hunter, here's what we're going to do. My recommendation is to buy this $10,000 product. I be silent. He says, okay, cool. Or he says, hey, what are next steps? Hey, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to run the card for you. I'm going to take care of everything on my side. My box office is going to run the card for you. I'll take care of you. Shoot me a text if you got any other questions. Cool? What's the card number? Boom, that's it. Assume the sale. Hey, here's what's going to happen. You're going to give me your card for $10,000. I'm going to take care of it. It's going to be worth it based on what you told me. I'm not going anywhere. Here's my number. If you have any other questions, what's the best card for you to use? Cool? That's what I got for you. If you're a part of the NCSSC and you're going into that competition in Atlanta, one, when you get there, please tag me. Please allow me to know that you listen to this and let me kind of get your brand out there. Again, we partner with the NCSSC. We're going to be very active on LinkedIn. We already saw the top 100 list that came out. We already saw everything that they've been doing. Tag us in your posts. Let us know you're listening to this. Share this with somebody that you know in sales. If you're in sales or if you're not in sales, whatever you're doing right now, you know somebody who is in the sales industry, and I want you to tag them in this episode today. Let's inspire others and continue to grow together.